It is nice to be back here on a Friday morning, and it's nice to be here with my friends. Some of you actually, it might be Friday around noon, but it's good to be here with everybody. So, we're going to take a moment right here at the beginning while we have her with us, and we're going to let Carrie Dahl share a little bit with us about what she does in her music classes. So, Carrie, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, and I'm sorry for not having my video on, but I think it would be disorienting for you guys to see me driving.
Yeah.
So I've been teaching music for over 20 years, but because of my kids' health conditions, I just opened my studio about 3 years ago, now that my kids are older. And so I teach classes from newborn till you stop making music because you can't anymore. Newborn all the way to adult, elderly. Actually, we have a class that's super sweet, and it's actually families with newborn to 5-year-olds with our grandfriends. So we go to an assisted living center and we do multi-generational music making,
Oh,
which
I love that.
right, it just mimics what we used to have in our culture where families were multi-generational and they were all close and they would make music together, and we've lost that as a society. So that's one of my favorite classes. But it's everything that I do is based on Gordon Edwin's research, and he's amazing. He does audiation-based music learning, and basically he just took the psychology of how we know that children learn and applied it to music. And I don't know why we didn't do this earlier. We certainly don't do it in our public education system, but this idea that we have this natural process that we learn by, and it starts with being exposed to something, our listening vocabulary is established, and then our speaking vocabulary starts. We start, if we're talking about language development, we start babbling, or if we're talking about movement development, we start, babies start moving their arms and legs and just kind of exploring the space and their strength. And then after that, we start thinking in these terms of things that we've been exposed to. So for music, we start thinking about the tone and the rhythm that we've been exposed to and that we've kind of musically babbled over, nothing, really intentional, just kind of responding to the music. And the more that we then have a repetition of exposure and experimentation, not performance-based, just free play-based opportunities to express and explore, especially when we have really rich input and modeling from those we love and trust, just like babies watch us when we learn to, when they're learning to speak or learning to walk. The more we do that musically, then the more children start to categorize and compare, and they start doing that natural work of making it so that their tone and their rhythm matches what they're seeing and hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up with the ability for them to express themselves musically. As early as age 3, children can sing in tune and they can move accurately to a beat, which is what we call basic music competency. And then we go further in our older classes, teaching them to lead, conduct, advanced musical concepts theory, but understanding the why behind the music, learning to be musical before we learn to imitate music by learning to say sight read first, which is how I was taught, but really is not the most effective way to do things. And my kids who have been through these early programs and really have internalized tone and rhythm do so much better when they get to private study because it's part of them. And then we're just putting names on things that they've already experienced, right, rather than the other way around, trying to, here's a quarter note and then trying to teach them what rhythm means. So it's exciting to me because it's, of course, such a wonderful way to express ourselves, and music learning. It helps all of our different learning. It's the only activity, one of the only activities that highlights accesses and kind of lights up all the parts of the brain at the same time. And it's just so good for us. And everyone is musical. There's not a single person. We're wired to walk and talk. And so we're wired to dance and sing. And so it's great for everybody. And that's what I do.
I love that. How beautiful is that to spend your time doing that and to know so much about it, to be able to share that. And that is just fits beautifully into a well-educated heart, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
So this Gordon Edwin that you talked about, does he pull in instruments at an early age?
Oh, absolutely. And
Like a
I said
xylophone
Gordon,
or?
I think I said Gordon Edwin, and it's because honestly, because I'm planning my mom's funeral. It's the other way around. It's Edwin Gordon. So forgive me. I got a little
That's what
dyslexic there.
came up.
But
Okay.
yeah, very much. Yeah, very much kind of Orff, Kodai. I mean, really in the same lines of those. We dance, we move scarves so that we can visually see this abstract concept of time and rhythm through space. We pull in all kinds of different instruments for exposure. I play 8 different instruments, so I'm always bringing in something new. to kind of show them, and they get to play with it, at the end of class, because the more exposure we can give them, the more foundation we're giving them for expression later.
Right. Oh, that's really interesting. And it's really fun because we just had a friend of ours, someone we grew up with, my husband and I. He was in town about a month ago from Canada. And
Yeah.
he's from here, but now he lives in Canada. He's in Victoria, British Columbia, and he teaches music. And I believe this is the what he uses. Anyway, just sounds really familiar to the
No,
things that he was.
yeah. Well, and as far as what you were asking about the instruments, the really interesting thing is that if you teach a child to be musical
Uh-huh.
first, and then around age 8, when they are really more developed, it's more developmentally appropriate for them to focus on one thing for a long period of time to explore a specific interest. If you
Mhm.
teach them to be musical first, then they can apply that to instrument, any instrument.
I believe that because I've seen that happen. I think that is so neat and so wonderful to open up that world to them young. You watch children respond to music. You've got any of these beautiful videos that I always enjoy so much where you've got somebody out in a town square somewhere and they start just, an impromptu concert, they're playing music. All the adults are standing
Yes.
around a little bit unsure of themselves and the kids are dancing. They're letting themselves respond to
Yeah.
the music the way we want to, but are too embarrassed to do.
Yeah, well, and because a lot of our societal music making has gone away, so we are unsure of ourselves because we didn't have that opportunity. But when we grab children and we get them into this, all of a sudden you're creating generations of music makers. Because when the adults do feel comfortable making music, then their children and their children and their children do. And it's fun because we have children who are doing like things that I didn't do till college. We introduced asymmetric rhythms. So 7/8 meter, 5/8 meter, think Brubeck, think this
Yeah.
stuff that's super advanced. And the kids are picking it up so easy because it's just as easy for them to pick that up as duple meter or triple meter, something we're familiar with. For them, it's nothing. And so,
Right.
yeah, we do a lot of that, especially young.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to learn more about that. That is fascinating, Carrie. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I know that our meeting time is not good for you. And I love that you're willing to hop on as you're driving to class. So
Oh,
thank you for doing
my
that.
pleasure.
And do you
Yeah.
have a moment to share just like a success story, just a I shouldn't say it that way, just a heartwarming, something that you love to see, just a personal experience and interaction, maybe in um, that multi-generational class, just something, an experience that you could share, how this has enriched your life,
Yeah.
helped you.
Oh, absolutely. So many. So I'll try just not to take up like the entire class doing it. Actually, what comes to mind, because I'm actually driving to the generations class right now, the multi-generational one. And it's been hard for those seniors to get out and start meeting with us again because they've been in quarantine for 2 years. So it's been heartwarming to see them come out. But actually, this morning I had a one-on-one with a girl, a mom who has a girl that has Pitt-Hopkins syndrome. And I don't know if you know what that is, but she's 13 years old and is about 6 months old developmentally. And I've been working with her for about 6 months. And it really was just beautiful to me. And it made my heart so happy to see that growth does not depend on if you have a disability or not. This pattern of growth, this really eternal pattern of growth, is accessible to everybody. And I can turn on my camera now, actually, for a minute because I'm stopped. But I was working with her this morning, and she went from when we first started, she wouldn't even engage in the music, to now she is. We'll do something and we'll stop and give her a chance to think, what comes next. And she's starting to process that, which is really quite advanced for her developmental stage. And then this morning, she sang the resting tone, and she let out in moving her mom's hands to the next rhythmic movement that we were going to do.
Wow.
This girl has no way to communicate, but she sings. She has no way to meaningfully interact with her world, but she is. She's
Right.
thinking through it and she gets so happy. Oh my
How
gosh, she got so
thrilling for
happy.
her mom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, she did it. And then we did it back to her, and her smile. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. So, I mean, and she was talking to her therapist, and her therapist was like, oh yeah, no, that's exactly what you need to be doing. So it was really beautiful. It was
That's
beautiful.
amazing, Carrie. I love that. And one of our moms is asking, how do you teach what are some ways to teach our own kids to be musical when we don't have that knowledge and talent that you have?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so easy. The basic stuff is so easy. Make music yourself. Turn on any kind of music, dance, sing, pull out the kitchen instruments, which is like your pots and pans, anything that isn't glass isn't going to break. Spoons, um, whisks are great. The kids love those. And just sit on the floor and start playing to the music, start moving to the music. And it doesn't matter if you can sing, it doesn't matter if you can dance. It matters that your kids see you taking the time to make time for music and that it gives you joy. Let yourself put a smile on your face, dance crazy. My grandma um, sang all the time when I was growing up. She was brought up by a woman who was a widow with 6 kids in the
Oh,
middle of the
wow.
Depression, blind. She was blind. And so she would make up the words if she didn't know the words because she couldn't go read them.
Right.
And so my grandma sang to me all the time. And I didn't realize till high school that my grandma could not sing. Like
Wow.
it didn't even occur to me. And then I
Yeah.
was sitting there in church one day and I was like, wow. And it didn't matter. She put me on this
Right.
path to make music for the rest of my life because she was always singing and always joyful about it. So that's the first step. And then
I
make the
love that.
music input as rich as you can. So like in the program I love it because they do songs from all over the world, all different cultures, different languages, all different tonalities. We sing a lot in major and minor, but there's actually, there's 7 different modes. And so listen to music from India, listen, a lot of this that we do in Well Educated Heart, listen to other things, and then repetition, repetition, repetition. That is a child's practice. And that is the basis of all of it.
I love it. Thank you so much. How fun for us to get to hear from you a little bit today and learn those things. I love that. Thanks, Carrie, for being
My
willing to share with
pleasure.
us.
My pleasure. And I'm so sorry I have to go because you guys, oh my gosh, what I've been able to participate in already, I just love it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. We're learning, aren't we? How important it is to have each other.
Yeah.
Yep. Bye, Carrie. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Well, how fun was that? I love that. I love that she was able to hop on and share with us a little bit. Yeah, Melissa.
Um, when Drake was little, he has autism, and we didn't know if he was ever going to speak. He was severely delayed in his language, and I was starting to learn to sign to him because we didn't know if he was ever going to talk. And one thing I learned from because he got early intervention, and one thing I learned from his speech therapist was to sing to him, to sing like everything you do, like I'm putting on my shirt, I'm brushing my hair, to sing everything, in a tune. And that's what helped him to develop his speech. So
Wow. That's
so I,
really
I love
interesting.
I love everything that she shared. I think that's wonderful.
That's really cool that you knew that you had that intervention, right? You knew and you had somebody to help you be able to work with him. I love that. And
Yeah.
babies really respond to moms and their voices like that.
Hmm.
That's really
And
neat. I love
and
that.
singing was the key. No matter,
Yes.
even if I couldn't sing very well.
Right. And obviously from that story of Carrie about her grandma, I love that. Her grandma sang all the time, and it wasn't until Carrie was older that she realized her grandma couldn't, like sing, like hold a tune, carry a tune. Anyway, I love that. That's beautiful. Okay, other thoughts? We're just going where we go today. We're following wherever the spirit takes us. So I don't know what you ladies have been doing this week, but we would love to connect with what you've been doing, the experiences you've been having, how you're feeling. I love the Legos. You know that I love those Legos, right? Thank you for sharing with us, because that's really fun to see your creation. Very cool. Oh, that's like a totem pole, right? Oh, can you share? Can you tell me a little bit about it if your mom unmutes the microphone?
Whoops, I thought I was unmuted.
So so the top is the eagle, and then there's a bear, and on the back I added something so that it made the body brown. And
You've got a
then
canoe here, don't you?
yeah. So I used shovel as a construction site shovel as a paddle.
Oh, really smart. That's smart to do that, to be adaptive, right? You just got to use what you've got and be creative. I love that. Really cool. I like it. Thanks for sharing, buddy. All directions. There you go. Got it all covered. I love it. Okay, moms. Now it's the moms' turns again. What do you want to share? What do you want to talk about? What have you been doing? I really want you to feel safe opening up and talking and sharing about the things that you've been doing, the things that are going on in your lives. We've had a lot of crazy things going on in the lives of people here the last month. A lot of different trials, just some bumps in the road, and then just normal life, normal, hard and great and wonderful things. So we're all going through it. You're not alone. I hope you're starting to feel that with this Friday connection. I hope you're really starting to see that you are not alone. You're not doing this by yourself. There are other women that are going through the same kinds of things, that understand where you are. I was just talking with a friend this morning about that, about how good it is to get together with another woman or other women and be able to share, be able to feel safe and be able to share. It's really important to do that. And I think we discount that. I think we feel like we need to do it by ourselves. We can't share those things because, well, here's one of the things, and I've heard this from multiple friends. Well, I couldn't possibly share the things that I'm thinking and feeling. They'd think I was crazy. They'd think I'm a crazy person. Sometimes the things that run through our heads are kind of crazy. And that's a good reason to talk about it and get it out there, because our good friend could say, well, that's actually not true. Because sometimes those crazy thoughts need to see the light of day so that we can realize, oh yeah, that's not true. I was just sharing, and we've talked about this before, but I was sharing how in a darker moment, we travel like this, don't we? Right? That in a darker moment, I didn't have anybody to talk to, so I wrote down what I was feeling. And as I wrote it down, seeing it on paper, I realized, well, that's not true. I don't believe that, but and it was interesting in that moment to say, okay, hold on. But when it's up here, I believe it 100%. I accept it. I believe it. That is the truth. That is reality. That's it. But if I take it out and I put it on paper, or if I take it out and I share it with a friend and it sees the light of day or something, it's kind of illuminated for what it is. And it wasn't true. And I kind of had to resolve that. Okay, wait a second. So if it's not true on here, right, then it can't be true here, can it? And so being able to talk to somebody helps us with that. It really does. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're supposed to connect. But you have to make real connections so that you feel safe sharing, don't you? If you're just surface level, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Yeah. Well, oh yeah, we're doing that thing. Yeah, me too. Okay, well, yeah, great. So good talking with you. Really? Were you talking? You weren't talking. We were just doing that, politeness, right? But really talking makes a difference. Really connecting. So, have you had any connections this week? Have you been able to connect with a friend? You don't have to share what you connected about, but have you been able to connect? Just, think about that, share if you want to. But those connections are huge. I had a friend last night in the grandma group, the grandmothers of influence, reach out and say, hey, ladies, it's been real quiet here this week on Marco Polo. And she said, are you guys all doing okay? Is it all right? Are you guys sick? Are you guys just really busy? What's up? Is everybody okay? And one, I thought that was really sweet for her to check in and say, hey guys, where are you? And then two, right when she did that, I kind of realized, oh, I'm down in one of my, I'm on that down part. And so it was good to have an invitation to say, oh, you know what? I'm not doing so great. This is good for me to realize and share. I shared a couple things. And as I talked, I realized, oh, just what I was talking about. Oh, that's not true. Oh, I don't really believe that. That's interesting that that's been in my head and I've been mulling that over all day. And it's not even true. It was just an interesting exchange. And then I got back from them and, we had a little bit of back and forth and, it was what I needed to kind of recenter, refocus. So don't discount these connections that can make such a difference in our lives. Yeah, Melanie.
So I'm going to kind of relate music actually to some of the things that you've been talking about. I've started taking singing lessons the last couple of months, and after, like 15 years of break. And this teacher has been like kind of triggering me to tears like every week, helping me recognize like walls that I've put up, blocking me from allowing my instrument to just be unrestrained and just, go for it and do the technique that works. And it's been interesting that I'm like it's gradually sinking in that when I'm trying to be protective of my instrument and not really wanting to be vulnerable fully, I guess, then it really makes the sound worse. And when you allow that openness and that being unrestrained, that's when things work. That's when it sounds good and beautiful. And it can be really hard to allow ourselves to be that vulnerable, but it applies in friendships, like you're saying, and I'm sure many aspects of our lives, that when you just let go and be vulnerable, things are more beautiful. Something that she said yesterday in my lesson was that, God gave me this gift and he doesn't expect me to do anything with it necessarily. He just gave it freely as a gift and said, enjoy it, do with it what you want. I gave this to you to enjoy. And just kind of realizing that I've had all these expectations on myself of what lies in my future and what I need to do with it to serve. And I don't know, I think that I was putting more pressure on myself, that when I realized there doesn't have to be that pressure, I can just enjoy it. That's one little piece that helps me to just, relax into the gift and enjoy it. So that was something I kind of learned this week.
Wow, that is really beautiful, Melanie. How many of us do that with things gifts that we've been given? We put all this pressure on ourselves and perhaps we never needed to. It was just given freely as a gift for us to enjoy. I love that. I think that's beautiful. Kind of reminds me of when I was feeling burdened about my garden and just thinking, I can't go out there and do that. I just can't. It's too much right now. And I was praying about it, and Heavenly Father said, go plant flowers. Just plant flowers. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff. Just go plant flowers. Oh, that release, and the relief and the love that I felt from that answer was beautiful. I loved that. Thank you, Melanie, for sharing. Okay, other moms, other thoughts, any topics? Hey, Jen, it's good to see you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So that just reminded me with the singing, the last comment. I'm teaching a storytelling class at my co-op, and only because I started reading the Restoring the Art of Storytelling and I loved it, but I don't know how to do it, and I've always been shy and quiet, and so it's like the same idea. It's like it's been hard for me to even like prepare classes because I just like can't get myself to do it because it just brings out so many, I guess, insecurities or something, even though I'm teaching like 5 to 9-year-olds. So I shouldn't be that nervous, but like I'm so nervous about trying to do real storytelling, and then just like they're way better at it than I am already. So but yeah, I like that.
Why is that, Jen? Why is it that you feel like they're way better at it than you are? What's the difference?
Their imagination, and they don't worry about what other people will think, or I mean, they get nervous sometimes too, but they're just more open.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I really think that's the biggest thing is they don't worry about very much about what other people think. You know, they don't have that part of it because you have just as much of an imagination as they do. We just kind of forget about that.
Hey, I'm on the phone.
Hi.
This is my
Oh,
little guy that's been in the hospital.
oh, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to share here, but are you able to share how things are going?
Sure. We're not sure really. We had an ultrasound on Tuesday to check on things, but we didn't hear back about the results yet. So next
So
week
lots
is
of
when,
questions still.
yeah, next week is when he'll have the meeting with like all the experts from
Oh,
in that area. So they only see patients once a month.
wow. That's hard.
Hey, Edie.
All those little boys. Do you have girls too, or do you have just boys?
I have 4 girls and 3 boys.
Oh, you do have both. Okay. I forget that you had that many. Oh, cute little pup.
Sorry, so loud.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I love you sharing this, Jen, because it's so beautiful that you had this experience of reading the art of storytelling. I'm going to do this just for a sec, and then we'll come back. Okay, hold on. Go ahead and unmute. I'm sorry, I muted you for a minute just so you didn't have to worry about that.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
But I love that you were reading the art of storytelling and that motivated you. Because of that, you wanted to tell stories and learn how to do it. I love that.
Thanks.
Do you still find joy in it, even though you're afraid, even though you're nervous about it?
Well, I was impressed at first when I just told stories instead of like reading them at night, especially Carly, my son there, really seemed to respond well to it and just wanted me to do it over and over. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. But mostly for me, I have to like do the intellectual part first and learn a lot about something before I like feel confident to act. And so it's just hard trying to tell myself to act when I haven't even read the whole book yet. And I've read like half of the other one too, the Mother's University one, but
Yeah.
I still feel incomplete because I need to read them all and
Isn't that
know
funny?
everything I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I think this whole journey is us learning to let go of that intellectual part right now, just for a season. We can go back to it, but let go for a season. Just do the heart part of it. Just do it. Experience it so that we come to love it. And then we can fill in with all of the facts, afterwards. But in the beginning, it's that learning how it feels to tell those stories, seeing the responses to just that natural storytelling. I love that. It's trying to get our heads out of the way.
I'll try.
No, don't we all, we're all impacted by that, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's like my mind, it goes blank when I think, okay, they say, tell me a story. I'm like, I can only think of like 3 and I've already told those ones. So I need to just, listen.
And
to
do
more
they mind
stories.
if you tell the same story again?
No.
Yeah.
But
So you
I
could
do.
just tell the same, right. I know, it's just we get in the way. It would be so simple if we would stop getting in the way and we would just let it be as simple as it is, and not get caught up in all the other difficulties that we place in our path. How many of our obstacles are ones that we put there? That's what I wonder about that sometimes.
Yeah.
But good for you for doing that. I love that you're doing it, Jen. That's so great.
Thank you.
Yeah, Cadence.
Well, I've been reading about the Salish tribes that lived here in the Northwest. And it's been really fascinating because I'm finding that as I'm reading about it, that I bring it up in conversation with my sister, my kids, my husband. It's just so fascinating to me, and it's starting to come out naturally. And I'm kind of, it kind of feels like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. And I really like it. It's enriching my life. Another thing that we did this week was that we went to a museum to actually go look at some things, and we went to some actual sites where these natives lived, and it's just been really fascinating to
And we
me.
got to go on a scavenger hunt.
Yes,
we
thank you,
want,
Sam.
we want a bookmark prize.
And I can't remember where I was going with this. Anyway, it's just been really fun.
But these are little bears.
And I've been trying to read the imagination book, and I've gotten that far in. But that's how it is every month. I get like this far into each book and then just move on to the next one and come back to it. But
And that's okay. That's great. Our brains, we really like that repetition. Just
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing over and over again. We eventually start to embrace that idea. So there's nothing wrong with that. I love that you're doing all the fun and colorful things that you're doing in your life, because that enriches the learning. It really does. It helps those things to sink in so much more than if you were just talking about it. But to actually be experiencing those things with your kids, that's really neat. Okay, other thoughts, other mamas? Linnell.
This past week, I've been feeling a pull to connect to a lot of people, and I haven't really known how. So these are just not random, but ladies from different groups and circles of my life. So I've got some extended relatives, and I've got some members of my church congregation, I've got some friends I don't talk to very often. So I've been feeling a desire and a pull to connect, but also short for time and short for energy and short for ideas on how to do it. So I actually reached out to Lori and I said, Lori, what do you think? How am I supposed to connect with everyone? It's kind of what you're doing. It's reaching out, and how do I create a mothers of influence type of connection, but without bringing them all to my mothers of influence? And how do I make them find connection in their own lives without needing to rely on me? So I was trying to just grapple with this idea of, I have a problem. I don't know the solution yet. I kind of know where I want to get, but I don't know how to get there. And so kind of along the lines of what Melanie was talking about with her voice and her insecurity, and Jen with storytelling and her insecurity, mine would be probably just connecting with people. I love to connect with people. I love to get to know people and reach out, but I just didn't know how to expand my reach. So Lori's suggestion was keep it simple. Well, of course, yeah, that makes sense. Just keep it simple. I was trying to complicate everything. I was trying to see, well, how can I make time to call everyone and take care of my kids and do everything that I have to do and keep in touch with my friends here. And so just simplifying it, or having her tell me it that way, helped me to maybe just take a chill pill, and I don't have to do it all, and I don't have to do it all. And I can just calm down and do one at a time, and very simple, basic approaches. And so I called one of these ladies and we had a phone conversation, and she was so happy that I called her. And she says she thinks about me all the time, and she has dreams about me, and I come to her and talk to her and we have conversations. She told me some of these dreams that she's having. And one of them is that we baked together, and she made a simple box cake, and she was like kind of embarrassed, and she showed it to me, and she thought I would say, oh, that's lame. But I said, it's wonderful. And that's totally something I would say to her. And then I asked her, this is all in her dream, and we don't talk much, so she doesn't know anything about how I like to bake. And so I asked her, do you want to see what I can bake? And we baked cinnamon rolls, which I absolutely love. And when I told her that's my specialty, I love baking cinnamon rolls, she was like, no way. So through this conversation, I realized and learned that when we have feelings to do things and when we act on them, there's a reason that we feel this pull. There was a reason I had been thinking of her. There's a reason I needed to connect with her. And by calling her, I was enriched and blessed by my conversation, because it was sweet to know that she was thinking about me, that I have made an impact in her life when we never talk. And somehow she's having dreams about me, and she knows things about my life and my preferences and what I'm doing, which is kind of crazy, but really cool too. She has a gift, and so it made me have this desire to continue to foster those relationships. And when I have a thought to reach out to someone or to connect with someone, just keep it simple. I don't have to complicate things, and I'm sure something good will come of it.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. I love that. And that was fun for me to get to hear what happened because I hadn't heard back yet to know what your experience was. So I love that. And that's really neat that she has a very definite connection with you. So that is no question that that's one of the women that you needed to reach out to. So I love that. That's really beautiful. And then for you to receive that confirmation that that was right. I think that's kind of sweet too. I love when Heavenly Father does that. You know, you have a thing and you're worried about it, you're insecure about it, and you do it. And there's some way that you know, okay, that was the right thing. I was supposed to do that. I love that too. Okay. Other sharing, other things. Anybody want to share other things that you've experienced this week? Positive experiences, connections with other people, just something that you experienced that you feel good about, anything. We share all the good things. We should also share the not so great things. So if anybody's struggling, this is also a safe place for that. I know not everybody would come on camera and share that. So it's not like I understand that. But please, all of you, while you're here, make note of who else is here. Make note of these women that have been brought together. And there's a reason for that. I believe strongly there's a reason for that. And I know that several of you have connected outside of this meeting. And so look at the faces, look at the names, so that if there's somebody that you're supposed to connect with, that you do that. And I'll always help you. If you don't know how to reach out to these women, these other faces, these other names, just message me and I'll help you connect. But you'll be directed to who you're supposed to connect with. And I'm learning that it's lovely if those connections are nearby so that you can just pop over, and see the person. So I encourage you to continue to make those connections in your neighborhood. We talked a lot about that last week, how that word neighborhood just keeps popping up. And there's a reason for that. It's important to connect locally with people that you'll be able to still connect with no matter what happens, as the world moves forward. But also that there are real, genuine, beautiful connections that are happening virtually. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we were given this gift of connecting via Zoom during this time. I think that's it's been wonderful. That and Marco Polo, just ways that you can connect with another person if you can't be there right together. And sometimes for young moms, this happens a lot more easily than it does when you have those little ones around. You can't always get together with another mom. Okay, I want to see what Seven had to share. And I'm sorry you couldn't unmute. That's interesting. You wanted to say, because of our meeting today and the connection here, I feel inspired how to connect with a friend that's struggling. I love that, Seven. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, kids. Oh, okay. I understand. I thought it was you couldn't physically do it. I've forgotten. Sorry. I don't have that problem, so I forget. Not really a problem. I think it sounds wonderful, but I understand. Too many kid noises. That's funny. Yeah, there are women around you that you do need to share with. Women that need to know, oh, I have ways that I can feel better. One of them is just connecting with another person. Another is finding these heart things, these ways to share by using the arts. I love that. Don't forget that these tools that you have, while they may be new to you still, and you may feel like, well, I don't really understand. I don't grasp it well enough to share it with somebody else. Or maybe you take them for granted because they've been a part of your life for a while. You've been using the arts to enrich your family and your life. And so you don't think about them being this incredible tool. But these are things that so many other people don't have. Yeah, Cadence, go ahead, sweetie.
Sorry, I've got background noise here.
Well,
Okay, so I just remembered something else that I noticed this month. So since we've been, can you stand back just a little bit? Since we've been reading and studying and doing Well-Educated Heart, I have had conversations with a certain person, and that person has noticed, wow, you know so much. And I don't feel like I know a lot of things, but I'm always talking about a lot of things and I forget stuff all the time. But she said, wow, you know all this stuff. I need to start reading about things. And that just made me think, wow, this actually is making a huge difference in my life. And other people notice that too. So just little things are adding up and it's amazing. That's all I want to share.
No, I love that though. I was thinking about that with you when I've seen like when you show your pictures of what your kids have done that week, the you know, the things that you've studied or done a little activity with or something. And I think, okay, so now you've just added to your knowledge just a little bit of a few different things. And that's all it takes. Because that's always funny to me because I will run across, you know, I'll listen to one musical piece and I'll learn something about it, you know, and it's one tiny little thing that I know, but I'm excited about it. And so I share it with somebody and then they're super impressed with my knowledge. And I think, I know this much. I don't know anything else. Like you're assuming because I've shared this one little thing that there's this mountain underneath of knowledge, and there's not. There's only that one little thing. But that one little thing was so exciting to me that I wanted to share. And then they think, oh, wow, but you've opened up a world of possibilities for them. And I think that's wonderful. It's that idea of you've just brought them to the table, you know? Think about it like that. Just invite your friends to come to the buffet, you know, and try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and have their lives enriched because they've all of a sudden opened up to these wonderful possibilities instead of the normal just routine of life that has no life in it. You know, you look around at people around you and so often their lives are full, very, very full, but they're full of routine and they're full of things that don't have much heart in them. And I think that's why people are struggling so much. But if you can gift them the arts, pick one, pick anything that you like, anything that you've just learned a little bit about. Or if you haven't just learned a little bit about, pick up one of the books, you know, pick up something and read a little bit about something, or watch a little bit, or listen to a little bit, or go for a walk in nature, you know, and experience something. And then share that thing with somebody else. And it could be a good thing, or it could be a not so good thing. Right now, we're being, you would think, in our household, in our neighborhood, in our home, in our yard, that we're being attacked by crows because all day long I hear my husband outside. He has these shoes. They're like these, you know, we're very old, right? So, you know, Sperry's topsiders, like, you know, does anybody even know? Like in the 80s, those were super cool. Very, very cool. Leather boat shoes. Like, so anyway, deck shoes. So anyway, they have these very hard, very thick rubber soles, but they're hard and they're loud. And if you slap them together, like you're cleaning off your shoes, they're very loud. And it sounds kind of like a shot, you know, like a gunshot maybe. And we have these crows that are attacking us, you know, and they're just around in the neighborhood a lot. And so I hear him multiple times during the day. I mean, I've multiple times already while we've been talking. I hear those shoes out there because we're scaring away the crows. So anyway, I just think it's funny, but we're learning about crows, you know, and so this is prompting us to learn some more things about the birds in the area. And we also watch and we see when the hawks come in, the crows go down the street a ways, you know, and the hawks are the ones that are managing the skies, right? When the crows are in, all the other birds are in turmoil and they're making noises and everything, and they don't like having the crows around, and we don't like having the crows around. Then the hawks, when they come in, it just like they displace everybody. Everybody's quiet all of a sudden. It's like the hawks just flying up there and occasionally making noises, but everybody else quiets down. There's little tiny things that are going on in your lives all the time that you could just decide to learn a little bit about, you know. And anyway, I don't know, it's a silly story, but there are ways that you can take just what's happening around you and learn a little something about it. And it's fun for us because when we share with our neighbors, like the turkey vultures, you know, that come through my neighborhood, we've shared that with you guys. So in the fall, in October, that end of September and first part of October, the turkey vultures are incredible, amazing as they come to our neighborhood. They're migrating and they come and roost in the trees in our yard and in 2 or 3 other neighbors' yards. And there will be hundreds and hundreds of these vultures in the sky right above our homes, just in our block. And you see them from way far out circling. And then they just get closer and closer and closer and closer. And finally they start lighting in the trees and they disrupt each other. And then they takes them forever, it feels like, to get settled down. But I've invited friends over and they put out blankets and they just sit on the ground and watch as these birds come in from afar and circle around and then land in the trees and take a while, get all settled. And they're huge birds. They're really big, big birds. And then they come and land in the trees. And in the morning, it's fun to be around in the morning when that first person in the neighborhood makes a little bit too much noise. And then the sky is just alive. Those birds just take off and the sky's filled and you hear all the wings that are rustling, you know, as they're taking off and going to wherever they're going to go to next. But they travel from north, you know, down south to the warmer climates. And then now, right around now, they come back. But it's so different. It's completely different. When they're moving south, they come all together. When they're going back home, it's like some of them are anxious to get back home and get life started again, you know, and others are lingering down in the Southlands. They're just not quite ready to give up their vacation time because on the trip home, they just wander through little bits at a time. And so for days, you just have little small, much smaller groups of them moving through. But we've learned about them. So we've gone and looked them up and looked up how big they are and looked up where they feed and where they migrate and what they eat and all these different things about them. And so we share that with our neighbors who have lived here for many more years than we have and have never, ever learned about the big birds, you know, and they find it fascinating. So there are things like that that are just a part of your daily life that you could learn more about and that would enrich your life. And I'm always just kind of amazed at that. Okay. Yeah, Melanie, this is interesting. I love that you shared this. How often do we assume that about others? It can be easy to think they are way better, way beyond us, or better than us because of the bits of their lives that they share with us. Yeah, so true. That whole comparison thing is really sucks a lot of joy out of our lives if we let it. Yeah. Okay, I'm talking too much. It's your turn.
I have a
Jen.
question, Lori.
Yeah.
So is that how you get above the just the low level conversation of how are you doing, good, how are you? Like by bringing
Yes.
in the learning that you've
Yes.
had lately? Because I'm wondering how to get above that with my neighbors. They're like in the cul-de-sac a lot with their little kids and they're together like every day. So, but I only come out there once in a while, so I feel like kind of an outsider and I just like my mind goes blank and I just don't know what to say or talk about. And so, yeah, I'm just like needing ideas of what to talk about and how to
No, I think that's such a
talk
good
about more.
question. No, it's such a good question. I mean, I kind of might look at it like show and tell, you know. If you went back to those days where you got all excited about going to school because it was show and tell day and you were going to take something to talk about, you know, if you kind of have a few things in your reservoir, you know, because we're supposed to be building up that reservoir, right, of stories and music and songs and poetry and all these beautiful things, right? If you have done a little bit of storing up, then and if you exercise a little bit of courage, then you can go out there and just start a conversation. Just pick a thing. Like I would invite all of you right now to just think of a thing that you have experienced or learned lately that you think is kind of fun, interesting, funny, strange, whatever, you know, whatever that would have a good adjective you could ascribe to it. And think about, okay, how could I share that in a conversation? Let me just tell you, you're going to feel weird. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to think, okay, they're going to think I'm such a dork, you know, or whatever, insert whatever your favorite, you know, word is there. And they might. It's a very real possibility that they will, even because they still live in the world of I've got to look the same as everybody else, right? I've got to make sure I conform so that I don't stand out and nobody thinks I'm different. But if you can start these conversations with them and just share an interesting kind of fun fact, you know, you can be that lady. But after a while they'll go, oh, she's real. And I always learn something interesting when I talk to her, and she seems nice. I don't get the same vibe from her that I do with, some of the other people that I just feel so uncomfortable even talking with. And they'll start to open up. You'll help them learn to open up. I really think that's why we're here, is to help other women warm up, help them open up their hearts, help them learn how to fill and feed their hearts. And you can do that by starting a real conversation with somebody. So yeah, Jen, I love that question. So can any of you kind of imagine that happening? Can you see yourselves starting a conversation and sharing some awkward, weird thing with somebody? You're gonna put yourself out there. You're gonna, kind of expose yourself. But my goodness, what am I doing here every single week? That's what I do. And I don't love that part of it at all. And putting the videos out there, which again, I'm so far behind on those, but the videos that are on YouTube, and I direct people to the videos. And every time I do that, I think, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't like doing this. Hey, why don't you go to this link in this YouTube channel and you can watch me and my friends as we talk about things. It just is awkward and weird, and I don't like putting myself out there. And yet I'll feel like you need to share it with that person. I think, oh no, I'll share something else with them. No, you need to share the channel with them. Okay, and I'm sending the text going, and that's me, and here's the channel, and you ought to go there because there's something, and send. And I just think, and almost all the time it comes back with, oh my goodness, I listened to this one recording, and this one mom that was there, she was talking, and it's one of you guys, and she was talking about this thing, and it just touched my heart. It has made such a difference. And now I've started doing that with my kids, or whatever the thing is, and they've incorporated it, and it has made all the difference, and they just feel alive again, where they were just one of those robots moving around, out there like we all were before this light was brought into our lives, right? And so you do that stretching, you do that uncomfortable thing, and something good comes of it. You don't always know about it, but something good comes of it, I promise. Yeah, Melanie.
I've also been thinking about how to get past the boring small talk and how to really get to know people, especially because I moved here not too long ago and I'm trying to make friends, And one thing that I've started trying to do as a strategy is I started actually making a list, because when someone asks me, what have you been up to, or what's your family been doing, like my mind just goes blank. I literally can't think of anything, and I just feel like, we just do the same old things. It's hard to pick out an exciting event to share. So I actually started making a list of hobbies that interest me that, I might not do it every week, but I pick it up every once in a while. It's something that interests me that I could bring up. And you guys talking, it just made me think, we could think of the 5 core web principles of, poetry, literature, art, music, and whatever else I missed, nature. And just, before we know we're going to go into a social situation, just kind of jog our memory, okay, is there one thing from those areas that I could share that I've learned lately or that I've done lately that could be interesting?
I love that, because that happens to all of us. I watched all the heads nodding when you said, when somebody asks me what we've been doing, what our family's been doing, what my mind goes blank or whatever you said. And all the moms are like, yeah, yes, we all know that. We've all experienced that, and that's how it is. Yeah. I love the idea of doing that. It's kind of like when you have to, if any of you, yeah, right. I can't remember what I cook either. I write it down in my journal because I'm in my planner so that I can just remember how awesome I was when I look back. Oh yeah, that was cool. That was good. Oh yeah, that was really yummy. Otherwise, I don't remember. We had cold cereal. I for all I know, if we rely on my memory of things. Yeah, I love this idea of making a list. It's kind of like if you were, if you've ever been in a charter or something, and you had a facilitator and you had to show what you've been doing for, homeschool or something, it'd be kind of like that. Like you prepare your own thing, you know, okay, you prepare your monthly little display of what you've done this month, what you've learned and what you've accomplished. In fact, I love that idea. I kind of love that. If you were to have this, okay, I'm going to report, you know, to my friends what I've learned this month. And you look at every person that comes into your life as an opportunity to report on something that you've learned, something you've experienced, something that has, you know, enriched your life in some way. I think that would be a really fun way to approach it. So I don't know, but I'm weird like that. And I'm sure there are lots of people around me that do think I'm weird, and I'm okay with that now. I mean, I'm older, so that makes it easier anyway. But most of them do think, but she is friendly. So, you know, she's weird, but she's friendly. You know, she's nice. They feel safe with me. So even if I'm a little bit weird, they feel safe with me. I'd rather be weird and safe than just quiet and non-approachable. So people need weird and safe probably a lot more than they need, you know, just nothing, quiet, not, you know, unapproachable. So now before we go, I want to just mention to those of us that are in California that there are a few of us that live really close together. So Melanie, Amber, you're both up north, so just north of me. So you guys might want to just kind of reach out. I'm actually thinking about doing a little gathering in California. So we'll do that just to get the moms together here. And then I think we're going to plan one maybe in Utah, somewhere that we could maybe all get to. Or at least, you know, most of us, if we want to try to do that, because I think it's important to try to get together physically as well. But again, before we go, I want to remind you that I keep feeling so strongly the urgency, not in a hectic way, but just in a blessing kind of bountiful way, of the urgency of getting together with somebody nearby, you know. I love that. Seven said, I'm the kind that would rather be weird than mediocre. I love it. But look for people around you. Stay here, come here, but look for people around you that you could connect with and have a real conversation with. Just start, pray for it. Ask Heavenly Father to help you to see the person that would be that person that maybe you wouldn't recognize because they haven't opened up yet, so you can't see it. But ask for help in recognizing those people that you could reach out to in person. And I promise you, it will not be something that is a burden. It's not going to be something that takes away from your life. It will be something that adds to your life. I know that's true. So look for those opportunities, because there are women out there that don't have what we have and are desperate for it. Okay. Sorry. I hope that today feels somewhat like there was something to hold it all together. And Linnell, this will be a stretch, but you always do such a good job of pulling it all together. Oh, thanks, Cadence. I'm glad you loved it. But Linnell does a good job of taking all of the directions that we went and wrapping them up and putting a nice little bow on it. So Linnell, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Lori. But before I speak, I haven't heard Amber all this time, and I don't know if Amber wants to say anything or share anything, or
I would love that.
If you would like to, Amber. I feel like maybe you want to say something before I share.
Oh, well, funny that you say that, because I was just, when Lori was talking, it reminded me of the devotional that President Nelson just did for the state of California. And I was thinking about how he talked about how we're in a unique position to really get to know people from all different walks of life right here in our own communities, and to share the gospel of Jesus Christ through that. That just kind of puts us in a unique position. And so anyways, I was pondering on that and thinking we all crave connection, and it's easy. I mean, for me particularly, to get in my head and just kind of stay there, you know, and I think the pandemic put a lot of us kind of turned inward during that time, and a lot to reflect on. And so for me, it's been thinking about, okay, I need to pull myself back out of my head and reach out to individuals and reach out to people around me and really kind of try and make that connection. So thanks for reaching out and giving me that opportunity.
I love that. Thanks, Linnell, for asking, Amber. I really appreciate that. And thanks for sharing, Amber. That's beautiful.
That actually goes along really well with the thoughts that I've been having. And so bear with me. I do have, I think we can wrap this up. And first of all, I want to share two experiences that happened recently. My kids love the movie Encanto, and they were singing it all the time. It was driving me crazy. And I thought it was way too much. And I was on a Marco Polo video, and Laura from our group had We Don't Talk About Bruno in the background, and she was like, it was blasting in the background. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sick of that song. Do you like that? And she said, I love it. I sing it with my kids all the time. I let them play it, and it's just wonderful. And just hearing her say that kind of flipped a switch, and I was like, oh, somebody else likes it, so that means that I can like it too, and I just have to stop hating it, and then maybe I can enjoy it. So I started letting my kids listen to it, and I started learning the lyrics with them, and now it doesn't drive me crazy. Okay, next story is that, oh, what was the next one? I can't remember it, but there's another story. My point is that when we change our perspective, things suddenly change for us. And so I'm reading a book, and actually I have a recommendation for you, Jen, with your friends. I'm reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I think that is a great book that you can read to learn how to interact with these people, the ladies in your cul-de-sac, if you haven't read that yet. So in that book, there's a story about smiling. And so there's an invitation. Okay, why don't you just try to smile a little bit more? And a man who was married for more than 18 years said that before going to work, he would exchange maybe 24 words with his wife. And he decided to take this challenge to start smiling more. And then he was asked to present after 1 week. Tell us how it went. And so he was going to take this challenge seriously. So in the morning, he looked in the mirror and he says, okay, you're going to wipe that frown off your face and you are going to smile today. And so he's at breakfast and he looks at his wife and he smiles at her, and she's blown away, and because she's just not used to that. And so he finds that after a week of smiling to her, it completely changed their marriage, and it brought so much positivity and optimism in his life and in their relationship. That one thing that he did was because of a perspective change. And so, like with Melanie and her singing, she is changing her perspective. She is figuring out what these walls are and changing how she thinks about them. With Jen and her storytelling, she has these insecurities, and if she changes her perspective and learns about storytelling or recognizes that she has something to offer, there are things that will change our surroundings and will change our lives and how we live our lives if we just learn something to change our perspective. And so what I feel like we can learn from today is that if there's something you're struggling with, if something is really bothering you, if you're trying to overcome something, try to ponder and think to yourself, what is it that I can learn, or what perspective can I change in order to overcome this and make this a positive thing in my life? How can I, I think it's just that, just what can I learn to change the way I'm thinking about this so that I approach it differently. With Lori and how she helped me to think, just do it simply. Is, you don't have to complicate things. And I wish I could remember, I had that other story, but maybe it's not important, or maybe it's just, maybe I can share it later. But I think when I reflect on my own life and I reflect on some of the challenges that I've had, when I reflect on how Well-Educated Heart has changed my family and my life, it's all because I learned something to change my perspective. And now I go outside and spend time outdoors. Maybe I think that's what it was. Yeah, it's nature time. I remembered it. So I live in Minnesota. It's cold here. Nothing really changed in terms of my circumstances. My environment didn't change, but now I go outside all the time. So what changed? It was something that I learned. I learned that nature is good for my children. I learned that nature is important for our development. I learned that in nature we can communicate with deity and we can have experiences that can change our lives. And so that's a huge difference that I've made in my life, to start going outside more. And it amazes me that it's just because I learned something from Well-Educated Heart that changed my perspective.
I love that. Thank you so much, Linnell. And you know, ladies, I've seen Marco Polos with Linnell and her husband and her kids out in the dark, in the cold of Minnesota, with headlamps on, playing at the park, because nobody else is at the park if you go at nighttime with headlamps on in Minnesota. I think you might want to add all those factors in to guarantee that nobody's going to be there. But still, I loved it, and they were having fun. They were laughing, and I've never even thought of things like that. But it's like the whole world opened up for Linnell and her family in that area just because of that one little, that initial shift. So yeah, I know that's what we all have to think. We have no excuses after we hear about that. But I love it. I love being here with all of you on Fridays. I hope that you do too. I guess that you do because you're here. And I hope that you'll take advantage of the opportunity to reach out to these women if you feel inspired to do that. Reach out to women around you, in your neighborhood, in your circles, because that is really going to be key. There are people out there today that need you. They need you. They need what you are bringing to the party. And we, because we invite sometimes those thoughts from Satan, you know, to discourage us and make us feel like we are not enough. No, we're not. We're never going to be enough on our own, but we don't have to be on our own. And when we partner with God, then we are enough, and he makes up that difference. And whatever it is that the person who needs us needs, we bring what we have, and Heavenly Father makes up the difference. And it's a beautiful thing to watch that happen. Just open up, be willing to be that vessel of light and love and friendship, and it'll happen. It'll happen everywhere you go, in every circle that you're in. You will see and find opportunities to do that. So I love that. Thanks for being here, everybody. Just have loved having you here. And yeah, it's good to see you, Michelle. I knew you were here, but it's good to see your face. It's so much fun when you guys come on camera and I can see you where you are. I love it. I understand when you can't, but I love getting to actually see my friends. So have an amazing, beautiful, hi, Lindsay, beautiful, wonderful weekend and week, and make those connections and come back Friday and we'll talk about the experiences that we've had. So we're going to go out and be brave. Can we do that? Shall we do that? Okay. It's good being with you. Goodbye, my friends.